Howdy, people. Chris Reedy here again with some more lovely content. This is a bit different from my usual stuff because, obviously I have a VTuber model I'm currently using. I found that it's quite therapeutic to use this. It helps me with my speech because I can kind of just imagine I'm just this guy here who's like a generic dude. So he'll be maybe a mainstay, but so our whole thing today is, of course, retro web, and we're gonna be going through tabletops today. Let me just change my VTuber real fast from big boy to little boy. There we go. I did this because, well, obviously, you need to see what I'm currently looking at here. So the history of RPGs has changed so much in the past, like, I don't know, like 30, 40 years. I don't know how long. Well, like, I'm aware of a general time frame of TRPGs, so like around the, let's say, 70s. Yeah, the early 70s is when we saw our first TRPG, which is D&D, give or take. So that'll be fun. I noticed that my VTuber model's eyes were freaking out there. I think this is how I have my webcam set up. It's being all wonky. Okay. So of course, going through it, its history, obviously, we need to talk about its modern, equivalent, because of course, how we like search up, RPGs today is different from back then. So here's a modern day equivalent: is of course Reddit. Reddit is the kind of like the central park of course RPGs. You can't really go anywhere else, really. I mean, there are some other places, of course, to go to, but this is really it. um, there's a few forums, of course, but this is the thing, man. There's a few posts here, obviously, and people just engage about anything. Of course, there are of course other places you can go to for RPG stuff, like for example D&D. That's a fun place to go to if you want to see your contents and stuff. So pop off if you want to see that stuff. I approve. This is another site over here that you can another subreddit you can go to. But yeah, this is a TTRPG, and they're actually doing all the actual stuff here. It shows off their obsessions, and it's a pretty cool damn thing. I actually do plan for my next major video is to cover what's the word? Navigating the old web, which is mostly just me talking about the old search engines, directories, and obviously web rings, which might have its own video one day. Just me talking about web rings and how they worked. It was a whole process, dude. But it's very simplistic. That much I will say. So I will include links to every single site you see here that I will just quickly go through right here. Yeah, every last one of these will be having a link down in the description down below. So look forward to that, so you guys can explore for yourselves. And I will, of course, click on a few links here just to explore what we have going on here. So I imagine this is really a directory. So it's not a web ring. This is a directory. It has a bunch of different TRPGs. Sometimes by genre, sometimes by the actual thing itself. So for this case, I'll just pick on any of these that actually sounds interesting to me, and we'll explore that. So yay! So let's go with 2300 AD. I've encountered this a few times, and of course, sometimes you'll see it bug out and it won't go anywhere. That's normal. It happens all the time on the web machine for TRPGs, especially. At least in my experience. Let's go with Mechton and see if it happens with that too. I've been to this place before. Okay, here we go. Like I said, sometimes it just messes up with some of these, and that's okay. So it'll go to a link here. This is Celebrin's homepage. So we'll be exploring that first and foremost. So how we're exploring this is, of course, I will be going through. Oh, of course, it's gone. But that's okay. It's okay. I'll be going through each of these sites, read them, a bit, and see, pick the brain of the person who used to run this. As always, disclaimer, people. Please, for the love of God, do not contact anyone that you see that like shows off their email or any of that stuff. Their private information. Don't do any of that, please, people. That's not cool. Not cool at all. It's a different time back then when you can kind of expose yourself a lot more, and nowadays you can't do that, which is unfortunate. Let's try this one. Nova Team Arkle. Yeah. Okay, cool. This is a person. Ooh, oh man, this is that old shit, dude. Has that neon yellow and blue. So, their rants and my feelings about the state and future of Mechton. I'm kind of curious. Let's take a look at this guy. Or girl. It could be either. This is a person that does not actually show off their actual information, which is a good thing. Oh, it's gone. Unfortunate. Okay, others. Let's see if others are still there. Hopefully so. That could be pretty cool. Just to see, is also gone. I have a feeling that this is kind of pretty much all gone, but this is how it happens sometimes. I'll still leave the link down below. I'll just put it right behind here. And let's try out Mechton Zeta Plus Extra. I should really vet these sometimes, It feels kind of real sad. Okay, I kind of goofed there. And let's go. Okay, this is getting a little ridiculous now. That's how it is sometimes, Okay, let's try Pendragon, and let's go all the way up to Cyberpunk. I feel like that has some content. I say go all the way up when you have to go down Cyberpunk. Cyber Generation 2, because why not? I wonder why my webcam is acting so goofy. You know what? Let's put the webcam over here. Hold on, guys. You'll hear a noise. And I'm going to move stuff around a bit. There we go. So you're going to see my head tilt this way. Because this is my main monitor that I'm looking at over here. Just going to give you guys a heads up, obviously. Let's stop delaying and get to... Okay, here we go. Now we got some good stuff, peeps. Some real good stuff. Let's see. 2K20? It sounds like a basketball game for real. Okay, cool. You know what? Let's read an article. That could be fun. So I actually played Cyberpunk 2020 before. I played it numerous times, in fact, and I have a general, an idea of how to explain the rules here and there. So I'll try my best to explain it to you, if I can. My rant. People love their little rants, don't they? Cyberpunk was a great introduction to the world, but combat was a little too bland, and the characters were carbon copies of one another. Additionally, there were no cool future weapons, just moderate ones. I mean, yeah, they're not wrong. A lot of weapons just kind of feel all samey. Looks like you're using the, cyberware and all the Bioware stuff. Then it's like, Cyberpunk 2020 was a vast improvement. It streamlined combat and made it a little bit more cinematic. Introduced a lot of new equipment and weapons. It made net running a little easier to run. It was all good around. It was good all around. I'm still trying. However, it wasn't perfect. The role-based system is still a little clunky. I kind of liked it though. And the special abilities get in the way of realism more than they help. Identify a character or his ilk. It seems that a special ability is only used to determine starting pay and general level in a profession, and rather poorly at that. With the 40 points, with the 40 point starting skill distribution, a combat sense of +10 solo who should be a world-renowned, battle-hardened combat vet has 9 less skill points that an equivalent starting character with a +1 combat sense. What's the deal? I get their complaints here. So something I did with my game. So I'm actually creating my own TRPG. A little fun fact about me. Hold on, I need a quick little bit of water. That's the good stuff, dude. So something I did, because I'm inspired by D&D, by Fusion, by Cyberpunk, and those games really paid a way forward for me on what I want as a player and also a game master. When it comes to special abilities, I make it always optional. With Cyberpunk, it's not optional. Well, you're a GM, you can make it, you can just remove it, honestly. But some people were like, no, this is part of my role, and I want it for my role, which, I get that too. So, let's get back to the reading. Enough ranting from me, I promise. The combat difficulty numbers are also printed a little low. In my game, standard range base difficulty numbers tend to get people shot a lot. Granted, if all the modifiers are taken into account and everyone is running or dodging or hiding and shooting wildly, difficulties are going to rise. But with all the boosting, they still get a +25 before the die roll. And a 30 is supposed to be impossible. They're not wrong, actually. You can stack up things pretty quickly in Tillerson games. Something I've noticed myself. as a person who has played through two of their systems, which is Fusion and Cyberpunk. I've not played Red, mind you. I'm not a fan of Red. This is me though. I raise difficulty in my own campaign to manage the plausibility of a scenario, often way beyond 30. I also sometimes roll uncertainty dice, which are added to a set difficulty. Narrating also needs work. It does. Fortunately, Red, from what I hear, it does make it better, which is great. Computers and the internet are completely unrealistic, even for an imagined future system. It just needs a little more eternal consistency and logic. It'll be fine. Finally, there's armor. Armor is fine. I'm all for armor, but the SP values can get a little ferocial. Is that how you say that? I've never heard that. I've never seen that word before my entire life. I've been here for like 25 years, dude. There are several rule variations and GM judgments on the World Wide Web to deal with this situation, so the problem is not severe. In all, Cyberpunk 2020 is an excellent system with a huge following. But I just can't wait until the 3rd edition. And I guess that's just all I have to say on the subject. Sorry about that rant. Unfortunately for them, 3rd edition ended up being a flop, which is a sad case. But 3rd edition is it runs off Fusion, which makes me so sad because Fusion gets a lot of hate when it doesn't really deserve it. I will I'll actually talk about that a lot more later, like way later. When I actually start covering TRPGs a lot more. But let's go to articles real fast, and I guess we'll head off to another site. It makes things a little bit easier. Actually, let's see the gear. Let's see the gear. Or the rules, I guess. Tech Chic. A style guide to what's hot and what's not in Bionic style. I'm intrigued by this one. Let's take a look. Oh, it goes nowhere. That is fucking tough. Rubical's Guide to Urban Combat Vehicles. It goes nowhere too. Man, it makes my heart break. I guess let's try this one out. And nowhere too. Unfortunate. That's just how it is sometimes. Let's see the cities. Maybe you got some cool cities here. Portland 2K20 and Seattle 2K20. Okay, let's try out Portland. Okay, this is a lot. We'll only read like a little bit of this, honestly. Portland, downtown Portland is maintained by the corporations, I can word, I promise, who also own many outlying housing developments. Between these suburban developments and the inner corporate control zone are the downtown housing areas, particularly on the east side. These are high crime areas, but none so much as the northeast Portland urban combat zone. Corporate police do not patrol these areas, and civil police do so only rarely. Most of the new construction of the corporate towers and skyscrapers, I can word, oh my god, has occurred in the northwest downtown area and East Portland near the Willamette River. Willamette, funnily enough, is actually the main setting for was it Dead Rising? Yeah, great game. I actually might record that one of these days on a live stream. Let's do a little bit more. Forest Park and Washington Park are still maintained by the corporations as preserves and retreat areas for the corporate officers and employees. No one can enter the park areas without proper corporate ID and a pass. A medium-sized archaeology has been constructed on Mackwam Hill near Oshu. It is partially underground and cascades down the side of a hill, like terraces of glass and steel. The archaeology was the third constructed by EnviroCorp. EnviroCorp? Yeah, I didn't say that. As a proposed new method of self-sufficient living. The archaeology is heavily guarded and its inhabitants are well-renowned, I can word, for net-based programming. Okay, this is a cool, like little city that, you as a player or a GM could go into. Very common amongst Cyberpunk fans that it's even still a thing now that people still develop all these cool little, things that you can go to. But that is 2K20. I'm going to put this over here just so I can give you guys a link later. So that's enough for Cyberpunk, I suppose. Just not to fill things out too much. Next up is Cyber Generation. I like how I'm going right back into it. Boy. Oh. Welcome to Dave's role-playing sites. Okay, Dave. I'm looking forward to this one, buddy. Ooh, look at this one, guys. So if it's gonna load, okay, there we go. It did load. That's pretty poggers. So as you can tell, it's kind of like all wonk. It's not really working too well, but we do still have these working on the side here. Unfortunately, it's one of those old sites where it did work a little bit somewhere. That's good. But Sewer Sanctuary by J Park, or rather just J Park. It doesn't say by. Okay. We first came across the Southside Sewer crew in their J Park by accident. We were fleeing a group of Boo-Rillock goons and had entered the sewers to try to shake them. Ratty, an Echo Runner, was doing his best to lead us through the maze of passages when he turned and walked through the sewer wall. Of course, the wall turned out to be a V-card illusion. I don't know what any of this means. I never played Cyber Generation in my entire life. I considered it. I really tried to convince Oz to play it back when we were still hanging on like talking terms. It's something I was actually interested in, but he wasn't really into it. That's how it is sometimes, though. And this enabled us to give the goons the slip. The little kids were getting scared by now, because the sewer smelled bad, and Ratty kept telling them stories of the alligators that lived down here. No one believed the stories, not even Ratty, until we met Little Al. We discovered later that Al had gone AWOL from J Park the day before, and the SSS crew, a group of Trogs and Beastie Boys, had been looking for him since then. They were really glad we found him. We weren't so happy about it. Still, they thanked us by letting us see their little secret. But Sewer Sanctuary. Okay, this is pretty cool. It's like, a whole thing going on that, you can incorporate into your own game, which I'm going to say a lot. Like, every time I do a tabletop video for, the whole retro web thing. So, that's okay. If you click on these, it'll give you, wait, does it actually do, okay. So, I'm assuming back when you run this on these ancient ass, like, web browsers, it would just like take you to that portion of this text here. That's what I'm assuming. This was. The sewer sanctuary had been built and expanded over a number of years. It was originally just an abandoned basement of an old corporate building. Taken over by a group of trogs, they dug a number of tunnels and caves, linking it to the local sewer system. Once a few years back, a trog was caught topside by a couple of mega violence. A gang of Beastie Boys came to the rescue of a poor trog. A friendship was born. When the mega violence returned and forced to exact revenge on the Beastie Boys, they had already moved operations underground, out of the harm's way. Okay, that's a cool, little backstory going on here. Of course, as always, I'll be leaving the link here, but as to not drag time on, obviously. I'm gonna stop right there. If you guys are intrigued, read yourselves. Also, because I feel like you guys are like, well, can I just pause the video? Hold on, I got you guys covered. All right, pause away. All right, I'm back. So, that was this lovely site. This is a pretty cool adventure. I'm enjoying this thus far. I didn't know how this was gonna go because last time I felt like it was really impromptu. This one was pretty impromptu as well because I'm me and I do whatever I want. So, time to go to the Google directory. Now, this is a very important site, historically speaking, for Google. So, at one point or another, obviously, Google's search engine was kind of, still making, its name. It was still a baby. And before its engine really took off, we had, its directory. Mind you, the engine still existed, obviously, but directory was like one of the cool ways of finding the content that you want to have for your shit. Quick little water break. So as we can see here, we have our archives of characters, computer games, conventions, fan fiction, which I'll be covering one day, by the way, not anytime soon. And yes, I'll be reading some shitty fan fiction that somebody made like when they were like 15 years old, like 40 or so years ago. Well, not 40 years ago, but you know what I fucking mean. So let's just go down here, and as you can see, we have all these cool little links here. These obviously, have a popularity rating of some sort going on here. I imagine the best site here was introduction. You get your introduction to TRPGs, baby. Which I mean, I feel like I should actually click on that. because it's pretty important for you all to know what this is all about, I suppose, if you're new to the shit. So give me 1 second, peeps. Waha! Let's see all the links we have here. I think 2 per site would make this pretty easy, pretty helpful, Tastes like Phoenix. You know what? That sounds interesting. Alright, so, ooh, look at this cool one. So this is a GeoCities site. GeoCities gone. It was ran by Yahoo, I'm pretty sure. So we have our little thing here. I'll be reading this portion, and we'll take a little bit more exploring around here. Just for fun. The basics. This is by Dave, by the way. Hello, welcome to my site devoted to role-playing games. The most obvious question that one can start with is, what is role-playing? There are many answers to this question, but I have written a short piece that attempts to answer this question of what is role-playing, which we'll be reading, by the way. Or not. You will have to decide whether the answer is satisfactory for yourself, but there are other considerations to take into account here. Gaming is a hobby for most of the people who play role-playing games, and other such games. Role-playing games are very interesting, have a lot of creativity and imagination that has gone into the creation of the adventures for role-playing experiences. Many times, the person who runs the game, called a dungeon master, game master, storyteller, or any other number of titles, has gone to the great lengths to research one or more aspects of the adventure, also called a scenario. There are also many other names for it: an adventure, a quest, a mission. Depends on the person, obviously. Back to where I was, that he or she is about to run. Some fans devote way too much time to playing role-playing games. Very true. But this is equally true of all hobbies, where it turns into a obsession. Into a true obsession. I gotta get it right here. Gotta get it right. Gotta put respect on Dave's name. All hail Dave. One of the most positive aspects of role-playing games, is that it is like a social game, very much involving interaction between players and allowing those who play to develop their social and cultural skills. Role-playing games teach rules, they teach a form of etiquette that is unique to role-playing, but which translates well into other settings, and they teach the ability to think on one's feet and to deal with unexpected situations. There are plenty of other positive aspects of role-playing games that one could discuss, but there are also negative sides. I will discuss the negative sides in the issues section. You know what? Let's take a little gander down there, and I'll cherry pick some of the issues he mentions. Oh, this is okay. We can go here then. Obsessiveness. One can get pretty obsessive with tabletops. At least my own experience. Depending on how you play. If you're a GM, some people will de facto you into this role of being a GM when you want to, of course, be a player. I have been both a GM and a player, and I don't like GMing anymore. GMing really, people are not as appreciative as I put a lot of time and effort into my games. I'll research things for hours on end, and people just will tend to ignore things I set up, which makes me very sad. That's how it is sometimes, though. While role-playing games are a hobby with many redeeming values, notably the social nature of the game and the teaching of rules and etiquette, it is equally true that, like all hobbies, some gamers tend to be obsessive. Obsession is not by itself a bad thing. There are many gamers out there who do nothing other than game, who have no social life outside of their gaming environments, and yet who feel they are very social and socially conscious people. Which, I mean, is fair. There are plenty of people who can just play games all day, yet be social damn butterflies. But when they're outside the world, it's a little bit different, It's a smidge different. So let's get on to adult situations. Oh my god. Okay. There's a button for me to press. Where is it? Okay, yeah, this is sad, cursed creator Coon. Of course, we didn't mention adult situations. Ugh. So, if you're curious what adult situations means, obviously, most of the time when you're, well, at least back in the day, is that when you're doing Dungeons and Dragons, the entire table is a guy. Everybody in that room is a guy. But then you have situations where, of course, there could be a girl playing. And mind you, in a modern day, you can have men and women both playing. It's not like how back in it wasn't back in the old days when it was just dudes. Now it's guys and girls. And some guys can get a little pushy and weird, and they'll do whatever they can in game, for role playing to basically help the girl or basically defend her honor. Like she can defend herself. She can do whatever she wants for herself. She doesn't need you, Kilgore. Let's read a little bit what he says here. By their very nature, many role-playing games deal with adult situations and morality, simply because these aspects of life manifest themselves within the context of role-playing games. For the most part, gamers in the role-playing community treat these adult situations with the respect they deserve. Though there are some gamers who are not so socially responsible. Yeah, we call those murder hobos, something like that. The term used for role-playing games and tend to be morally and ethically responsible in these situations. The kind of situation that you would face a 26-year-old player with is not the same situation that you would throw in the face of a 14-year-old player. Yeah, let's just say this is of course a very much hypothetical. If I have a bunch of players who are all like 20, I'm a little more looser with how I'll say things and I'll do things. Like, for example, if I'm playing Cyberpunk and we're all adults and we're going to strip club, I'll be a lot more descriptive. But like as a kid, I wouldn't like introduce a strip club whatsoever because like they're a kid. They don't need any of that like in their shit, dude. And if I do mention it, it's like very brief. Oh, you guys enter a strip club, and like basically like make sure our kids are like got protected. I would like just like be very very discreet. I would not mention any of the dancing going on. I wouldn't really mention any of the other stuff. I'll be like, oh, there's a very odd vibe to the place, something like that. That's what I would do, very least. But if I had to, like the entire table was like all adults, but there's like one kid, then I would just be careful. This is what you have to do, honestly. Be careful and make sure they're protected and they have a good time. Anywho, violence in RPGs, things can get really fucking violent. Like, I have not been in a situation where I've gotten violent with anybody, or anybody's been violent towards me. I'm a big fucking guy. I'm fucking 6'5", so people trying to step to me, I'm not saying like I'm a whole badass. I've got my ass kicked before, and I've done some ass kicking. That's how life goes. You get your ass kicked, and you get some ass kicking in. Let's go. But I've seen it happen where people will fucking fight over some bullshit, like the dice being fudged. I hate fudging dice, by the way. I will never do it. I don't care. Of course, you can argue that it's for the player to have more fucking fun. It's not fucking fun for me to fucking fudge damn dice. I let them fucking fall where they go. That is my general rule on that stuff. And they also agree with me on this. At least my players. Not everyone's the same, obviously. In usual cases, I won't even mention me rolling the dice, and I'll just use like Tabletop Sim sometimes or Discord for like a bot or something. Ritual sacrifice. Okay. I'm gonna leave that one alone. What is role playing? Interesting. Considering, I'll let you guys just pause on this one. This is a lot of reading, and I just don't. Well, I have the time. I just don't feel like doing it, honestly. Ooh, this one looks fucking nifty. So this, so this is the one we actually clicked on from the DMOS. No, it wasn't DMOS. It was the Google stuff. So, what is Tastes Like Phoenix Games? Is this like their own like tabletop group or the origin of a name? I'm kind of curious. What kind of name is that anyway? In Chinese mythology, that Phoenix are Fang Huang, Hang Huang. I don't know. I'm sorry if I offended anybody. Was one of the 4 fabulous creatures combining both yin and yang principles, made of elements representing the entire cosmos. And its appearance was said to begin new ages or herald the birth of a great emperor. Okay, the person that runs this is named Kevin. Cool. I will not be clicking on any content information though, because it's not cool. What is TLP? I already went for there. Let's see our articles. We'll read like one of them or something like that. Oh, it's an adventure. That's pretty cool. So it seems like these guys are guys and girls ran this site that has like their own adventures being hosted, tournament stuff. When I guess they went out to cons and stuff. Articles obviously, and we'll be reading an article because the adventures are a little, you know, a little bit more difficult. Let's hope this is still here. Okay, this is a lot, and I'm not reading all this because no. This is by Jeff Gilmore. Okay, baiting the hook. How to take advantage of a new game's uniqueness and first-time character creation. Okay, this will be really interesting. One of the hardest problems as a player is creating the first character in a new role-playing game. It takes something very special to get involved with a particular faction or mindset when you don't have a full notion of what the world is about. Typically, this results in players falling into stereotypes. They play the same character from system to system. I can relate to this so fucking much. Let's mark my spot. But yes, I have done this myself. It's so interesting to see this ancient knowledge, like, still relate till today. That's something I'm so big on, like, in my media journey thus far, is that things that can still hit from back then to now, I love that shit. And often that characters don't take advantage of the world because it is drawn from outside of the game, not created within it. As a GM or a player, there are several ways to avoid this trap and create characters that live and breathe in that universe. Okay, but you know what? This is actually some really good advice, I imagine. So this to segue this to myself, just for very briefly, I promise, is what I tend to do is, like, when my GM tells me what system that we are going to play, I will get the book. I'll buy it. Obviously, I do not promote piracy. I do not promote that shit. Buy and support these authors and companies, of course. Please don't sue me. But I will purchase these books and I will read them. Not just the rules, and it's obviously a given to like read the damn rules, at least to some degree. And of course, what's the word? Read the lore. If the book has a lore, read it, please. Because there are some books that are just purely rules, only rules. And there's also other books that also includes a lore. And the more lore you know, the more you can roleplay and immerse yourself into that universe. Yay! It's something that I had an issue with, like when I first made my first ever character ever, through Ados's game called Waterfell. It was really intriguing. I got to play as this character named Zero. Yes, I'm so original. I was edgy. I was so edgy. And he was a Fugar. He was like a frog guy. And that was an adventure. And then a character I made who was that guy. He was a character that you should not play for as a whole thing. His name was Alistair Vale, and I loved him so much when I was younger. But I realized I was such a shitty role player back then. Man, I was so damn edgy. But let's hop into the falling the stereotype trap. A friend introduced me to comic books in 1988, and shortly afterward, we discovered the Marvel Superheroes RPG. I liked the RPG because I knew the world and could easily visualize it. When we tried Dungeons and Dragons, there was no frame of reference to keep us interested, so we quickly went back to MSH. After moving away in a 3-year hiatus from role-playing, another friend attempted a GM White Wolf's Vampire the Masquerade 2nd edition. Okay, so that is a great game. The rules and the lore are kind of merged together, which I don't like about Vampire. It's so annoying. Like, I want the rules first and then the lore. That's how I like to do it, mind you. I have never read Interview with the Vampire or Dracula, so it wasn't my cup of tea. But I decided I would try it, thinking maybe it will be good. As new gamers do, I found the combat monster appealing. Given every beginning gamer's fantasy, he was a Grangal. Or Grangle? Grangle. Pretty sure it's Grangle. With a super secret cool background, and a habit of being dumb. Because I, the player, knew nothing. This game broke up after a few sessions because the players didn't care about the world or the society that their characters lived in. There was enough interest in what the prince or his enemies did. We weren't motivated to come to a session. That's just sad that you did that to your GM. No matter how much I disliked a game, I would always still play. I would still try my best. At least that's how I lived with my thing. Of course, tell your GM you're not having fun, so you don't waste your fucking time. So they can have like a whole new thing planned. Um, that's how much I'll just read here. Just because, and I will of course remove little me, so you guys can of course still read, and I'll slowly go down so you guys can still read this bad boy, just in case you don't want to go to the site yourself, of course. And that is all for there. That's a little me again. Let's go. So this site, very similar, and unlike the other few sites that we've seen thus far, because we know we're losing a lot of time here. We'll only go through one site. Oh, this is a thing we'll see one day on a channel called Muds. They are so cool. They're kind of like a choose your own adventure, kinda. The archives of Alderayan. Well, you know what? Just because we're running low on time, I'll basically just explain I'll explain what the site is. So think about Google's directory. This is just like that, basically. And you basically have like all your things that you can go to here, and it looks very similar, right? It looks very similar. And this is a site that I loved. This is by Dustin Evermore. Dustin is such an integral figure in the fusion scene. Quick little order break. So Dustin, as I said before, is a very integral, I can say the word, I swear, piece to fusion, because he kind of gave us the basis for fantasy for a while before we had I believe who were they called? Oblivion Studios? No, not that one. Different one. They made a thing called Shards of a Stone Core, which I actually owned a book of. By the way, I bought it for $12 at Walmart. And this book is rare as hell, so you can't find it anywhere really anymore. So let's go with his most popular one, Birthright. This is more just for me to show off the thing I like, because I'm a big old nerd. But we'll see this stuff a lot more later on, I promise. So this is his campaign site. But with this campaign site, also introduces a bunch of nifty things that you can use for your campaigns for damn fantasy. Obviously, this is based off D&D. I believe this is conversion stuff going on here. Yeah, it's AD&D. My bad. This campaign has now been converted away from AD&D to the Fusion system. After a dramatic conclusion of the campaign, I ran based in Muden, Bretshire. After running many Birthright campaigns under AD&D, I decided to move to a skill-based system, leaving behind the limitations of a class-based RPG, Granddaddy, A&D, Enter Fusion. I made the move to Fusion for a number of reasons. First, it's a mature system based on the years of experience in testing that its parent systems underwent. Second, the core rules have been made publicly available on the web. Web by the parent companies, Hero Games and Artillerson. Third, Fusion's ability to tailor itself to any setting is just too tempting to pass up. True. So, quick little segue. Oh god, my fucking back. Fusion is basically like GURPS or Fate, basically. A universal system, but Fusion is a bit different. So because it didn't advertise itself as a universal system, it was more for a mega system kind of. It can be used for anything. There's a word for it, and I can't not remember the damn word, but it's in the book, and I'll read it one day to you guys or something like that. Quick little water break, because oh man, I've been going for a bit here. A lot longer than I actually expected, honestly. So we'll just read one thing, I suppose. Packages sound interesting. So this is your packages for your races. The following rules are an expanded, edited, and modified subset of rules created and copyrighted by Sean Patrick Fannin, modifications by Dustin Evermore for integration into a Birthright campaign. Not for publication in any medium except for personal use. Okay, so if you're curious, racial packages are a thing from, what's the word? It's from Shards of a Stone Core, but also it came from another game they made. It's slipped my mind right now. But it's their actual first fantasy-based thing. So this means that they came first, not Dustin. My bad. Nice correction on the spot. Let's go. So we have our dwarfs here. So of course there, you got your benefit and you got your you got your negative here going on. Long life. Okay, so this is your basic stuff really. Character types. The suggested character types outlined below may provide you with some character ideas, the skills, the options. Okay, so you select XYZ and you get all those things from that thing. Okay, very basic. I like it. Okay. Maybe that was the worst one I picked. Something that's a bit more heavy in words, I suppose. But again, time is a factor here, and let's go to the next one. Blue Trolls Netbooks. This is a good one. This is a solid one. So this contains a bunch of damn netbooks. If you don't know what a netbook is, basically it's this a big old book of content that is for a particular system. In this case, it's D&D. I think it's it's a D&D. But I'm not sure if it's like the first or second of that. But that's just how it is. And we will, let's see some humor. I want to laugh today. Oh, and it even, okay, this is pretty cool. And you can also download these, which is also, of course, pretty damn cool. I obviously will not be downloading these because, well, one, I don't like going for my damn downloads folder. There's things in there you shouldn't see from me. It's all sorts of hentai. Yeah. I'm joking. It's because well, honestly, I just don't know what's in there. I got download things, like I want to see about this download shit, and like it's just there. AD&D comedy. Desmond Reed includes comedy, non-weapon proficiency, blue balling. I'm sorry, I read it a whole different way. Blue ball bowling. Okay, it's one of the oldest underground sports. It is played by rolling a ball down a highly polished wooden runway towards a 10 wooden pins set up in the form of a triangle. The sport was invented by dwarves. They lived deep underground and needed a good sport that didn't require a large playing field. Eventually, they came out with bowling, where they used a rock and wooden bottles. Various forms of bowling have been developed by different races, including head bowl by the Hill Giants, a smaller version of bowling called Nuts, brother in Christ, by the Gnomes, Bowling for Blood by the Goblins, and Magi Bowl by some upper-class humans with some magical abilities and lots of money. That is intriguing. So this site obviously has tons of content that are most of this stuff should still be here, just as a reference, and almost all of it should be downloadable. At least to what I understand. So let's see GURPS real fast. This is a web ring that we will be actually exploring one of these days. Not today because again time, but also I actually want to make I actually want to make like a whole video based on web rings. So I feel like I should just wait for that before I actually do that. This is another site we'll briefly glance upon, and we'll actually go over it in more in depth next time for a part 2 of this stuff. But this is BJ Zanzibar. BJ, you know what? I can word, I promise. BJ Zanzibar's World of Darkness. And at one point, this was like the go-to area for anything World of Darkness. There was so much stuff here. Of course, mind you, it's gone now, obviously. But there, of course, is some mirrors up, and this is actually one of the mirrors. It has an IP address, which, obviously, it's something. You can move this, and this is for all the the games inside World of Darkness. You got Changeling, Vampire, Werewolf, Wraith, Mage, Papatori. I don't know what that is. I never heard of that one. And we'll see a ritual of lost life, and it gives you a ritual that you can even have here. During this ritual, the caster spends 2 hours a night for 2 weeks preparing an object. There can be no distraction, and at the end, the caster must spend 3 willpower points and 5 points of blood. In addition, the casters must know chemistry free. Okay. Any kindred who receives this curse object immediately expels blood through all possible means. Oh my lord. Through their skin, their eyes, nose. Okay. That's pretty damn metal. And I'm actually very excited to actually go over this one of these damn days. Unlike all the other sites, I actually won't include this one in the description because I feel like we haven't done much with this one, and I also won't include the GURPS web ring either. This is for Paladum. I totally butchered that one, didn't I? But this is Mad Dog's link list, and this one is so cool because it includes a crap ton of damn links, obviously. Of course, for Palladium, Megaverse. You know what? I'll call it Megaverse. It makes things a lot simpler. And we have our links here, and of course, all the standard stuff from a site like this one. And you click one link, you go to link. Simple as that. And we'll be covering this next time, most definitely. But that is all I really want to do for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This has been a real adventure. I truly love going through tabletop stuff because, well, honestly, it's something I enjoy. Next time we actually do a video based around this stuff, it'll probably be for for cooking. Actually, I want to explore old cooking sites for recipes and stuff. It could be interesting. Interesting. Yeah. It could be very interesting. But we will see. I'm messing around now with all the options I have. But anyway, guys, I'll see you guys next time. Please like words. Please like and subscribe for more. See you guys next time.